The idea for the Equity Learning Lab came directly from the funded partners of the Transforming Health and Healthcare Systems portfolio at Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. When the Transforming team heard that their funded partners wanted support embedding equity in their work and organizations, they, together with the Learning for Action and Public Equity Group teams, developed the concept and design for the ELL that we then implemented over the course of 3 years.
The fact that the Equity Learning Lab was an entire cohort of funded partners that the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation was supporting, and then a whole cohort of both plan coaches and other really important support from the two hub organizations meant that we became, over the course of the 3 years, a sense of community, learning community for ourselves to share our challenges as well as some potential solutions.
Helping organizations get really clear what impact they can achieve and how that impact can center racial equity is a priority that we hold as a part of our work.
Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, by investing in a Equity Learning Lab, made a big difference in the field to get people talking, to get people listening, to get people reading, to get people reflecting. And the Equity Learning Lab was the vehicle through which that happened. But I actually think the biggest thing was that RWJF put resources towards a group of whatever it was, 40 organizations that are trying to advance health and health equity, and gave them time and resources to think about this and to try to do things differently and to reflect on how that was going. And that was what was so meaningful.
We felt that this was an opportunity for us to just evaluate where we were and be able to utilize some resources and TA support from a person as we were going through our own strategic process. And so that was the motivating aspect for really wanting to join the Equity Learning Lab.
We really wanted to walk our talk in terms of what we were designing for the organizations, and thinking about how we were going to model some of those principles as a collaborative.
We went through and we interviewed and we, tiered and tracked to get to the 8 coaches that we brought on. We decided to make it an open call. We decided, again, this is like operationalizing the values, which is such a hard thing to do. You can walk the walk so much, but then like to keep consistently walking the walk, we're like, no, we're not just gonna lean into those we know, we're gonna make an open call.
The plan and content coaching and the equity continuum plan, those two things were, I think, the most powerful ingredients of the Equity Learning Lab for us, because it gave us, again, a regular forum and a regular cadence for getting together, for keeping our equity strategies front and center for all of us. And then as we hit roadblocks and setbacks, it gave us a place to continually rethink strategies.
One thing I found really valuable about the Equity Learning Lab was just the opportunity to hear from peer organizations in the work that they were doing, how they were approaching it. And I took a lot of sort of comfort in recognizing that everyone is facing kind of difficult challenges, and that we're all, we're navigating it in different ways. And I think the Equity Learning Lab did a really nice job of kind of elevating challenges in these sort of facilitated discussions so that you could learn from others' experiences in a way that was, I thought, very vulnerable for the people who shared the challenges they were going through, and also very transparent.
I think the main support you need is you definitely need the backing, I want to say, of your senior and executive leadership, because I think that as long as it remains at the top of their mind as well, the work will continue, right? As long as it is important to them, the work will continue. But then you need a person who is dedicated to maybe execute on the work.
I think it was really important that this was an activity that grew out of interest and support from individuals at multiple levels within our organization, but had my active support and participation as the senior executive. So it was bottom up, but supported actively from the top.
This is not linear work. It's work that can be all over the place. And so I really appreciated the staff like digging into that and knowing it and being okay with it and pushing back. And, they just all were so committed to that, even in the organizations where it was hard to get the leadership buy-in. So the people that come forward to do this work within organizations were probably the most valuable part.
We heard from many participating organizations about how the components of the Equity Learning Lab help them make progress on their equity journeys. One of the most powerful ways the Equity Learning Lab impacted the work of participating health organizations was through providing content coaching in the arena of embedding equity within their strategies. For some organizations, this has resulted in real, concrete changes to both their strategies and their operations in ways that can contribute to more racially equitable health outcomes in our communities.
The most valuable part of participating in the Equity Learning Lab was getting more courage about calling out some of the inequities that I see not only in the wider world, and struggling with the language about how to call out those inequities and still have people listening and levels of awareness to take action. Getting more comfortable with being in that role has been really valuable for me.
One of the areas where our organization has made a lot of progress on its equity journey is in involving individuals with lived experience. The first convening of the Equity Learning Lab, I was in a breakout room with someone from the Patient Advocate Foundation. And when we learned about what each other were doing, we thought, oh, we should talk some more. And so we did. And that was the start of us developing a partnership. And so now, since January 2022, Siren and Patient Advocate Foundation have a joint learning community, it's called, and it is a group of experts by experience. And they have advised on 7 different Siren research projects to date.
I thought the organizational equity reflection tool sparked the desire or drive to frame a big part of our strategic plan in an effort for us to further embed DE&I all the way throughout our organization and our impact in communities. I think it was really helpful that we were in the process of developing our strategic plan while we were working through this tool.
As we were thinking about the implementation of our strategic plan, we developed a cross-staff board subcommittee to implement, and that group was the one that participated in the Equity Learning Lab as a starting point.
The results of the survey were then taken, massaged, and then the committee worked to generate the goals and objectives based on the results of the survey. And that resulted in an elucidation of the 5th FAB goal that's in our strategic plan.
I'd like to think that equity can be, embedded, like it's sort of, there's enough practice in organizations that it just becomes embedded in what every organization is doing every day. And that doesn't have to be an add-on or separate program. I don't think we're there yet. I still think there's enormous need and opportunity for philanthropy to continue to plant those seeds.
I was just always knew that it had an ending. And so it was this is gonna stop. And so a part of me was I don't want to rely too much on this support because I know that it's going to end, and that we do need to stand on our own and be able to drive the change and do work in our organization without that additional support.
Our organization plans to continue the work after ELL by identifying where are those significant areas where the work that we do can have an outsized impact. And so we've been talking as a board about what those areas might be. We believe that in order for significant change to happen over a longer period of time, the funding must be there. And so identifying those sources of funding that will help to fund that work for the long term.
I think it's really important organizationally to continuously return to vision and to have a regularly built-in, regularly scheduled return to vision. And as an organization, I love to have folks first do the broader vision. If we are successful, what would the world look like? And then if we are successful, what would our organization look like? And then for each person, who would I need to be in order for that organization to be functional inside of that world?